Have a quorum. Shall I read the?
Yep.
All
Sure.
right.
Hold on. We're going live on YouTube in the next few minutes. And when I give you the thumbs up, then you can read the statement.
All right.
I have to do this because Mr. Lit is watching and
Oh.
he does not like it when we're not live on YouTube. We're supposed to be. So let me make sure that we are.
And next time we will spell his name right in the minutes.
Oops, sorry.
No, that wasn't you.
Oh, good. It wasn't.
Okay, we're on. All right, calling to order the meeting of the Library Board of Trustees, October 27th, 2020, 12 p.m. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Library Board of Trustees will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. Southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will put on Southborough's website an audio or video recording transcript or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. All right, and it is 12:04. The first item on the agenda, which is review, approve the minutes of the previous meeting, we're going to table because people have not had time to get their edits in, so we'll put off that until next time. All right, and move to item number 2, library facade restoration project. I think that's depending on Janet, and I'm not seeing her.
I did speak with Janet today. I just emailed her, so I'm hoping she can come in. But Mary and I, actually the reason why we called the meeting has nothing to do with the preservation restriction.
Okay, all right. So we'll just move on to the 2 items. And one is curbside pickup service. Yes.
So I need to. Part of the reason we're having a meeting, I'm sorry, so soon after our last meeting is because 2 days after I met with you, I had a construction meeting, which we're doing on the Thursday mornings. And there were a couple outcomes of the meeting that I needed to immediately update you on and get a decision from you guys on. So the first is, we had talked about this previously. There's going to be a truck that is, I don't know what else to call it, Mary, other than the suction truck, but there's going to be basically a gigantic vacuum tube off a truck that is removing some of the debris from the roof. And it's going to be very loud. We're not going to be able to have curbside function that day. So we won't be able to answer the phone because it's so loud. And then because of the placement of the truck, we won't be able to have the tables outside. So we knew that this was going to happen. We knew that we were going to have to shut curbside pickup down for a day at least. So that date now is Wednesday, November 4th.
Okay, and staff will all be there,
we're
right?
shutting down that day.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
that's reasonable. You don't want, wasn't there asbestos in there? No? Am I still muted?
Oh, I can let
No.
Mary answer that one.
No, not in that part. The asbestos is in the caulking,
Oh,
and that won't be coming off of this truck.
okay, but still, ugh, who wants to be around that?
Right.
Not your staff. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Mary, sorry.
No, it will be loud. Because there's a lot of rocks up there, 2 and 3 inch size rocks that hold down the membrane, and that's what they'll be sucking off. So and there could be some dust and debris coming with it.
So Ryan, did you say that no staff will be in the building on that?
So initially I was going to come in and accept the Optima delivery and do UPS, but I have reached out to those people and we can defer that to the next day. And I think it's probably recommended we don't have any staff in at all. John Parent and the facility staff will be here and they can notify me of anything if anything comes up.
Okay, I would just say that, if you guys aren't going to be answering the phones, is there a way to change the message to say that, on that particular date, if people need assistance to either use the chat or to email you guys, just so people still have access to whatever, they might need to do to talk to you guys at the library, but just in a way that works for that day.
And we do now actually have the chat enabled on the front page of the website. We're working on integrating it into other areas. So I'll be able to be live on chat if I'm not on site. And then if people do leave a message on the phone, I do get that
Mhm.
and respond to people, but I will explore changing the voicemail message with a specific message just for that day, letting people know that curbside is closed. We're also, it's worth noting, because Veterans Day is the following Wednesday, the 11th, will also be shut down for that day as well, because it's a holiday. So maybe I can do like a dual message. I can let people know about both Wednesdays were being closed.
Okay, and you'll post that on social media also?
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
So we'll have stuff on Twitter and Facebook just saying that curbside pickup will be shut down for the day, but we want to, John was careful. We think that this will only be for one day.
Mhm.
If there is no problem, it will be one day, we should say. So I will let you guys know if it's more than one day. Let me put it like that at the end of Wednesday.
Yeah, this size roof should only be one day unless, we have a failure with the vehicle or something.
Let's hope not. Okay,
It
so are we,
probably would definitely be no more than 2. We know that.
right,
And probably no more than 1. So we're gonna go with the 1 day. And I'll just, I think I can talk to Tom LaFlamme, Kim. I might be able to change the voicemail remote, but I know that's a little trickier than being able to do it while I'm here. We have to change the voicemail message anyway. It's just hard because the staff is always physically out at the desk and I can't change the voicemail while everybody's working and making calls. So that has been the
you
challenge.
could also put out at the sign on the curb, closed Wednesday for construction, sorry.
Yeah, we will have a note. We'll have a note on the door as well.
Right, so I think that sounds pretty under control.
Yeah.
Right. How about the item number 2, or unless
Can I just
anybody has
ask
anything else to say?
a quick
what, Jane?
question? Could you put something on the blog, My Southborough?
Yes, that is a good point, Jane. We should update as well. So I'll do.
Yeah, just because people, I mean, you get that every day, so that would be,
Yeah,
might be just one more way to reach people.
right, library's getting a makeover. Sorry, people. Anyway, Mary, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think Ryan's got it all explained. It's just
Alright.
gonna be a large truck, look like a big snuffleupagus. It's got a big hose that comes up onto the roof and it'll suck all the rocks down into the truck.
Sounds like fun. Okay. How about the second item under the facade restoration, which has to do with the foundation rebar?
So the
Okay, yeah,
foundation, you want to get it, Ryan, or you want me to?
Well, I'm just gonna, I could have notified you guys that we have to shut down for next Wednesday, and we could have, it's good we have a little bit of an update on the preservation restriction we can tell you about, but that also could have waited till the next meeting. The real reason why we're meeting today, I should say, is this item. This is the thing that we needed sort of a decision right now on. So I'll shut up and let Mary talk.
All right, so the addition foundation, where along the sidewalk where you walk to that side entrance that you use as your main entrance, if you go by there now, you will see what we call pocks. Basically, the rebar was close to the surface, so as time went on, it popped, and now the rebar is exposed to the elements. So the rebar staying exposed is not good because it will rust and expand and make larger pock marks. So the approach is to go in and grind out around there and fill those pocks with elastic material, a special material that will bond with the existing foundation. So that's step 1, to get the rebar protected and coated and cover those pocks. Once that's done, it will look almost like, they call it broken teeth. If you get a crown that's the wrong color, those pock marks are going to stick out. So there's a coating that they can put on there to dress that whole facade so it'll look even. And where it is kind of your main entrance and you walk past it all the time, it is what do you call it? Aesthetic. It's not. So the functional part is repairing the pox and filling the pox. The aesthetics are putting on this coating after. So the coating after is a couple $1,000 and the pock marks are 5,000 and change. It comes out to about, let me see, I got it here, $8,436.88 if you choose to do both. So it's $5,728.04 for the patching. And then the coating is $2,708.84. And the architect and the OPM recommend doing both, but it's up to you.
The coating the same color as what it is now, or is it a different color?
We will match it with the existing as closely as possible, is the thought.
Do we want to? Can we change the color?
It's up to, I can ask. I mean, I'm not sure.
What color is it now? What do
You
why-
right, it's a gray color. You wouldn't want to change the color, I don't think,
All
Mark.
right.
It would look
And
weird.
now that it's been power washed, it does look a lot better. It looked pretty Soviet before.
So just to, if you guys are walking towards the library from the parking lot, we're talking about the gray, sort of the gray concrete walls that are directly outside the children's room.
Mhm.
And again, the masonry people, I think, brought this to Mary and the architect's attention because the long term, it's not going to happen next year. It's not going to even happen maybe in 5 or 10 years. But because of the way that the juts are in there, eventually it could further crack.
Mhm.
So this should be done, and we have the people who are here. The issue that has come up is that this is on the addition, not on the historic section of the building. So really what I need to ask you is, wait, we'd like to get this paid for, but it's not in the purview under the original project, which is to restore the facade on the 1911 building. This is on the 89 addition. So what I'd like to propose, sorry, Marguerite.
No, I'm just going to say, what does John Parent think, since technically he's in charge of the building?
He thinks we should repair it, but there's no money in his budget to do that.
Okay.
I think Mary explored that with him.
Yeah, he doesn't have the budget. One other, just a thought that but it's up to you, it's your main entrance, that I've seen some municipalities do is after you do the patching, if you didn't feel comfortable with the 2,700 for the coating, perhaps a local artist mural somebody could be commissioned to paint locally there. That's just a thought.
It'd have to be a really big mural.
Yeah, I know. Worcester has done it on some of their buildings in the city that were already graffitied and needed some upgrade. They allowed local artists to sign up to paint them.
We could still do the coating and do a mural on top of that too. So
You don't have to,
yeah,
the coating will look the cleanest and finished, and it is your main entrance. It's just a thought.
So this 8,436 needs to come from where?
so that's the question, Jane, that you just hit right there. It can't come out of the CPA funding, and it can't come out of the facilities budget because this wasn't budgeted at a town meeting. So this is what you call an unanticipated expense, right? This is something that's being proposed that we do, but there is no current money for it. So what I would like to ask you guys is, I am sort of listening. I listened in the construction meeting to what everybody was saying. I agree that it should be done. And we have the workers here to do it. Now, we could put this on a future town meeting warrant and as a capital project, but that could take a significant amount of time. And you guys know that a number of library projects have been deferred over the years. So there's a number of capital items that are coming up on this. This is sort of as far as capital items go, this is somewhat of a smaller expense, even though it's $8,400. It's a big expense to us. what I'd like to propose is using state aid funds in order to repair it now so that we don't have to do this later while we have the masonry people here and that they can basically add this on to the existing project.
Well, I'm okay with it. What does everybody else think?
Also, while there's not so much traffic at the library, it's probably a good idea.
Janet, you're muted.
How, how much is in state aid right now? We already hit it for something else, didn't we?
We are still using it for the copy machine, which,
Yeah,
as you know, an ongoing project that
yeah.
we're working with the IT manager and the finance director on.
Jane, last report, it was at $61,534.64.
Oh, okay.
So Ryan, you're saying that balance doesn't include the copier yet?
Correct. So the copier still needs to be subtracted. And then if we also subtract this amount, we're talking about a third of our reserves for that.
Yeah. The copier, remind me how much that's gonna be?
It was about 10.4K,
Oh, okay.
if I'm remembering correctly, which I think I am.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
So that would leave us at 51,000 roughly. And then that minus the 8,400 would put us down to about 42,697. So this would be roughly 20% of the state aid, but the state aid funds we have after the copy machine.
And then more state aid is coming in 2021.
We will get, because I just filed the state paperwork
Mhm.
in October, we will, again, I don't think we really know what the state budget situation is going to be like, but like I told you last meeting, it usually takes a year or two for everybody to catch up. So I mean, we could anticipate we'd get a payment again this year that would be equivalent to what we got last year, which would be about $12,000. So, I mean, again, that doesn't, we didn't really use a significant amount last year. I don't think we have big plans to use a significant amount this year other than the copy machine. So you could kind of say that it's a wash between the 2 years. We did just spend a couple $1,000s on the canopy tents for curbside. So I should mention that. That was the other expense that we did. And I don't want it to seem like I'm coming to you guys with big projects. This was not something that was anticipated. This was something that came as a result of the construction. Mary and I do not anticipate that we're going to have to come back asking you for state aid funds for other aspects of this. This came out when we were doing the power washing. It was a suggestion from the Masons on a part of the building that they're not actively working on. So
I'd hate to see the foundation crack more.
Well, and it doesn't look good the way it is. I mean,
I was
it's,
gonna
you
say,
know,
you've seen it, Janet, right? with the
yeah,
pock
it's,
marks.
it's little rusted things sticking out, surrounded by crumpled concrete. It's not lovely.
It's a
The
nice
rest
look.
of the building is starting to look so nice.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
Mary calls it the pox. I think it looks like shotgun blasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marguerite,
know.
I'm not sure if you saw, but there's a message in the chat from Sam.
Oh, thank you. You are so good at that, Kim. Thank you. Sam Stiver says, could you talk with advisory about a reserve fund transfer?
We could, but again, I think because we have state aid funds available, my recommendation would be to use that money for this.
And get it done now.
Yeah, otherwise, because I think this kind of has a ticking clock, right, Mary? We want to do this while the Masons are on site.
Correct. It would cost more for them to come back later.
Yeah.
Have to remobilize.
And state aid is available for us to spend on any library related purpose. You know, this falls under that, definitely under that category. So that's my
Okay.
advisement. I'd be happy. I mean, there's also a capital planning committee. You know, I think they're more about planning long-term, and we're talking about a very short-term need here. So I don't think it's necessary I appreciate Sam's comment. I think advisory would be there if we didn't have another option. In this case, we do, if you all agree to that.
Yeah, I think that's the first question advisory would have, is this your only option? And since, other departments and other, things in town don't have this kind of a fund available to them, this again seems to come under the good citizen qualifier of not asking for things when we have alternatives. It's a tough year.
Yeah, I agree. Amy, what do you think?
I think it makes perfect sense. I think doing it now while there's less people, while they're already there.
I agree. I think that if we just get it done now while all this construction and disruption is happening, then we could be, done when all of this is over. And like Ryan said, that's why we have state aid. And I think we've been really conservative about using it in the past for situations like this. So, even though it comprises about 20% of what that level will be after the copy machine expense, like we're still at 42,000. We're anticipating the new state aid in the next year. I think we should move forward with it. My only caution as we think ahead in future meetings, I know that we've been looking at state aid to do proof of concept things like with Hoopla and other like digital subscriptions. So I think we'll just need to be more cautious about how we spend for those things in the future, particularly if they're recurring expenses. But I think those are things we can handle as they come.
And I will say, if Kim's point is taken by me, we can't go to state aid for every single project that comes up and fund everything that comes up. And 20% it may not seem like a lot, but that's a significant amount for that's remaining in a fund that may not be resupplied in the same way year to year. What I can tell you is just in the last week and since our meeting, I have explored adding Creative Bug, Skillshare, and Canopy and it looks like we can absorb those in the library's current fiscal year budget.
Right.
So other than those, I think we'd have to look at state aid to support additional digital resources. It also means that by adding those resources, we'll have to potentially budget for those resources if we want to have them next year. So that's a consideration, I think, as well. But seeing as how we're able to, I think having more digital resources, given the current environment and the fact that we're really pushing people more and more online, makes sense in a number of different ways. I know I talked a lot about digital resources last meeting, so I won't again, but I think that's the direction at least we need to sort of look at moving in collection wise. So that's something I'm kind of committed to. I don't like coming to you with big state aid requests all the time. I know I just did it recently with the copy machine. I'm doing it again with this project. It's ongoing, people are recommending that this work get done. I really think it should get done, and I think it makes sense for us to use state aid to do it.
Okay, do we want to vote on it?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, I move that we take the amount of $8,400 or whatever amount is necessary up to $9,000 out of the state aid budget to pay for the foundation rebar repairs and recoding.
My second.
Okay, Trustee Davis.
Yay, yes.
Trustee Ekberg not here. Trustee Landry, aye. Trustee Maney,
Aye.
Trustee Reagan,
Aye.
Trustee Yazdani.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Good. Thank you, Mary, for finding and explaining.
No problem.
And Ryan, also, I guess you'll know how to move forward with the actual making of the payment to the Mason.
Yeah, Mary, you can let them know that we're good to move forward with this now.
I
Right.
will. Yep.
Great, okay.
Okay, great.
If there aren't any other questions or comments, we can move to the preservation restriction update. And Janet, you've gone to 2 meetings, right?
Of the construction group?
Yes, yes. I guess you and Ryan could fill us in on the preservation restriction.
Sure. So following the fun meeting that we had where we learned about this new Mason expense and talked about the stairs and got all the necessary updates on the project we got. We then had, Janet didn't know she was going to be there for the entire morning into the afternoon. We talked about the preservation restriction. So the recommendation from Mary and from the architect was to work with a group called Historic New England. And it turns out that the suggestion from the CPC representatives was also, there was some confusion because there was an email that went out that listed a different organization. But Mary was able to sort of Nancy Drew that the person mentioned worked for Historic New England, not this other group. So it looks like Historic New England is the group that the library is going to work with in order to hold the preservation restriction. We'd at least like to open up conversations with them. So I think the plan is eventually to have a joint meeting between the trustees and the CPC about this. I know the CPC has had some quorum issues with meeting. I think they just got some brand new members. So it's been suggested maybe that Janet and I meet with some of the representatives from CPC to at least get started so that we have some sort of workable agenda and also to include Mary and Lynn, the architect. So it would be kind of, I think, 2 library people, Janet and I, 2 CPC people, and Mary and Lynn, and the 6 of us would at least have an initial meeting, possibly more, to start to work on the restrictions so that we could update both groups jointly.
Ryan, I think Historic New England should be involved in that meeting early on.
Yeah.
They're gonna write the restriction for you. They've been doing this for years. No sense reinventing the wheel. Let's bring them in early, look at their templates and see what they can do.
And the gentleman's name is Dylan. Is that-
Dylan, yeah, there's a bunch of, I've been dealing with Sally out there for years, but she's probably his boss. But yeah, Dylan is the one that Freddie spoke to. So we could engage him.
Well, I spoke to Freddie last week, and it kind of the ball is in CPC's court at this point. She's going to get in touch with those folks and see how they want to proceed. But at least we have a path. We have a path. We have a group that's appropriate. You know, we've been looking at different groups that hold preservation restrictions, but this project doesn't seem to be in their wheelhouse. You know, they're open land foundations or whatever. These folks are professionals at this. This is what they do. I think it might be very expensive, but we hopefully have the money. And they would write it, and then they would also then follow up on it. They would come back each year and assess the building and make recommendations about what might be needed. And the fee that we pay would be the one-time fee. So I think we would be getting a lot for our money, hopefully. And I think we'd learn a ton more once we meet with them. But
Okay, and
group that does
the
this.
big question on my mind is if the library decides to do a renovation, is the preservation restriction gonna get in the way of what the library would like to do for a renovation? If we add another addition
Expansion.
onto the library,
Yeah.
that's in my mind.
Or expand.
Whatever the restriction covers, they would have a vote on or a voice on. So if this is just the facade of the building, or then if it only covers the facade of the building, that's the only part of the building they would have a vote on. So as long as we're changing other things, then they wouldn't.
That's how it should be. It'll probably just be the original building facade. This is what I ran into with Shrewsbury Public Library. Similar to you, they had an old 1960s edition on there that was multi-leveled, wasn't accessible, wasn't good. It had too many hiding spots, all the wrong things. So they tore down the edition and added on that new state-of-the-art edition, and they had a preservation restriction. And we kept the original building intact, and it worked. There was no problem with it.
The preservation restriction would not apply to the interior of the old library then?
No, we're not doing any work on the interior. Very rarely, usually an interior restriction is only if it's a home that Historic New England or somebody very important owned. You know, because it's a sense of place, history, you know, what happened there or the person that lived there. They may need to like, trying to think of the one out in Amherst, the writer there, the woman
Oh,
writer.
Emily Dickinson.
Emily Dickinson.
Hers
yeah.
has an interior preservation restriction because her bedroom is intact where she wrote.
Okay.
If we didn't want to change the geographic footprint of like the Judy Williams reading room, the front reading room of the library that hasn't had, I would, any significant updates in the past really 100 years, right? That would be maybe something that we could look at including if we wanted to have a conversation about. I think the aim of the whole conversation we had years ago at town meeting was undoing what we should call a partial preservation restriction. It is specifically on the facade of the structure built in 1911. So that doesn't include any part of the 89 edition. So the language of the restriction needs to be very clear, and we need to have, I would say, ongoing conversations with CPC and with Historic New England about exactly what the long-term plans for the library are. I think Marguerite and Jane bringing up the fact that we may want to we may at least want the option to renovate the building in the future. We wouldn't want a potential preservation restriction to take away from that, but they wouldn't be able to significantly change the 1911 original structure. So that's worth noting. You know, Jane and Marguerite have been on the board, you know, a little bit longer. So they remember that these conversations were occurring when we were in the initial assessment phase, and then we went to ask for construction money. So that we just need to remind everybody of this as we're working towards that restriction.
So what else do we need to know at this point?
I think the most important thing is that everyone understands now where we are. CPC, I talked to Freddie, she knows that the work is going to be done within the next few months. This preservation restriction is a way longer process than that. She knows it's not going to be done before the other. So hopefully we won't have trouble getting bills paid, those kind of things. But she needs to talk to CPC, and they not only have quorum issues, but some personal things that are interfering with the communication right now. So it might take a little while to get straightened out and get on board, but kind of everybody knows the key pieces now.
So what is the cost of using this third party to hold the restriction, and where are those funds coming from?
We've heard the number 60,000. That's very theoretical. It's, you know, it's a big number. One thing Freddie said is, so we have money in the CPC funds that, unless you want to speak to this, Brian, we've both been through these details. We have money available that we think will be excess, but we also have a contingency amount that Freddie said is to cover, it's not just to cover necessarily problems that come up with construction. She said it's to cover unanticipated events. And the cost for the preservation restriction could be considered this, and it would be a CPC vote. So I think we have a few different alternatives.
So is it fair to say, Mary, that we are in construction now, we still have a little bit to go, but is
I wouldn't commit to using the contingency until we get that roof opened up.
Right.
Yeah, so we want all the final bills first. We're not anticipated going over budget, I would say, on the construction costs at the moment. Again, remember, they have not really started the significant roof work. They need to, that's in the next couple weeks. So let's see how that goes. That's my first thing. But if there is money within, so CPC, the Southborough CPC required that we do a contingency as part of the project. If there is money left in this contingency fund, we would just need the CPC to agree to use that to pay for the preservation for whoever, the organization that holds the preservation restriction. Part of what I guess we'd be paying for is to actually have the organization write the restriction. It would still go under legal review for the town. So Aldo would take a look at it and you would all take a look at it and you'd have an opportunity to ask questions and engage. I keep saying organization. It looks like it's going to be Historic New England. We're at least going to initially negotiate with them. So it's possible it may come out of CPA funds. It's possible that it might be part of this CPC project if there's funding that exists for that, Kim. So that's the short answer. A longer answer is depending on how long this takes and what the back and forth is, it has the potential to go on a town meeting warrant in the future as a separate CPA article proposed by the Southborough CPC. So it might even be a separate warrant article. At this point, we don't know. We're in the very initial stages of working with CPC and with negotiating with a preservation restriction holder.
So the only reason we need this is that the CPC wants it, correct?
No, it was a requirement of the warrant article that was approved at town meeting.
Okay, all right.
So it's a requirement of using CPA funds to do this construction project.
Got it. Oh, it's reasonable. I mean,
needs
it's
to-
very reasonable.
Yeah, it needs
That number is
we need
really
to have a
high.
restriction placed on the building.
All right, why did I hear that the 84 Main Street was like $40,000?
I don't know. It might, and it was not, I know that it wasn't the same situation. 84 Main Street is not town-owned property.
Or tell by your local historical commission that may not have the skill set that Historic New England provides.
Got it. Yeah.
But we get more for our money with Historical New England.
And we
One
can't,
other-
go ahead, sorry, Jim.
I wanted to mention, Janet mentioned she hoped we don't have trouble getting bills pay. That should not come into play. The restriction is ongoing. It shouldn't affect the bills. This is a publicly bid project in Massachusetts, and the contractor is entitled to interest if the bills are held up for any reason. So we need to stay on top of that and keep the process moving.
Right.
Are there any bills that haven't been paid?
No, not that I'm aware of.
So there had been one, I
We would-
think.
Oh, sorry, go Janet.
I had thought that there had been one, but has that been paid?
I believe it has, yeah.
Okay, great.
So we would like to thank the Southborough CPC for staying on top and paying all the bills. I think, it has been difficult, I know, because you need to access the townhouse by appointment. So part of this was just establishing a plan for how we're going to do the preservation restriction and in coordinating all of these different moving parts. So I thank Janet a lot for sort of jumping in and helping me. I know I've said that publicly a couple times, but it's helpful to there's a lot to sort of manage with all of this. And I appreciate the fact that the board was willing to meet today to approve the state aid funds to do the masonry work, and also to give some time to give some updates about the preservation restriction. I will not sugarcoat, we're going to have a lot more conversations and a lot more to talk about with regards to this preservation restriction. It's going to be an ongoing discussion for this group and for multiple groups together. So I guess get ready for that.
Thank you for the update. Is there anything else that we need to know at this point? Mary or Janet or Ryan? No? Yes?
No, just that we are actively working with the contractor to try to get John Parent out there to take care of the planters for the group.
Oh, the
The
stone
Southborough
planters.
Gardeners, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think they were winterized. If they haven't been already, there was a plan to do it.
Yeah, they were working with John, so I'll look at those Thursday.
Thank you, and thanks to him also. It's another item on his plate, which is very large at this point.
Yeah, John gets a lot of credit for this one because he was
Really?
the one who volunteered. And so Jane, you can go back to the Southborough Gardeners and let them know we took this very seriously. And
Okay, good.
there's a plan to winterize them because we don't want the planters damaged as part of this.
Yes, thank you. I will pass that on, but thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, they've been through a lot, those planters. They've
Well,
They're survivors, so here we go. Anyway, any other items of business for our meeting today? No? Great. Okay, I would like, as Ryan said, to set the next meeting November 17th at noon on Zoom. That is a Tuesday, if that's all right with everybody. And I think we can vote to adjourn. I move to adjourn.
second,
Okay, Trustee Davis, how do you vote?
in favor.
Okay,
Yes.
Trustee Egbert not here. Landry, I. Janet,
Aye.
Kim,
Aye.
and Amy.
Aye.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned and it is 12:42.
Thank
Okay,
you.
everyone, thanks a lot, and we'll be in touch.
So that
Aye.
meeting on
Thank you.
November 17th is at noon?
Yeah,
Yes.
Is that, okay, thank you.
Is that all right? Okay, good. Okay, bye, everybody.
and I'll invite, Mary logged off first, but I will invite her to join us as
Do we
well.
need Freddie to join us?
We can ask, we can see if she's available and she wants to be invited. She may not want to come, but we can reach out to her.
Okay.
What do you think?
Okay.
If she
All right.
wants, I don't know, we can talk about it later. All right, okay, bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Ryan, can I ask you a totally unrelated question?
Sure, do you want it, we're recorded right now, so.
Oh, I'll just have to call you
call.
then.
Okay,
All
do
right,
you want to call me at the library and just ask for me?
sure, okay. All right, bye.
Bye.